everybody. Welcome to the
Hey
Rich
everyone, we are
Relationships.
so happy to see you guys tonight. We are happy to be together. I know you're wondering why we don't have Laverne, and that's because she had uh,
Household
a
emergency.
household emergency. So that's what we'll say. But we are excited to be with you guys tonight. Tonight we are going to. We can't kiss, so I'm going to kiss you this way. Mwah. I love
Yeah.
you. I'm so glad you guys are here with us tonight. We are looking forward to this topic because a lot of you guys know a lot about us, but you don't know is that I have three autoimmune diseases. And one of the people in our community asked a question, and the question was, how do you still feel beautiful, or how do you overcome the feelings of not allowing a disease or a sickness to hinder your relationship? And so basically, we are going to initially title this In Sickness and in Health, but we figured that would be too predictable. So we had to give it a title that would kind of get your attention. And we will eventually have Laverne on the show to have her to talk about how she's overcome and things she's dealt with. But I thought that it would be good for Gil and I to kind of share it from a female's perspective, a male's perspective, and of course from a biblical perspective. And so I want to kind of give Gil a chance to kind of just share basically how has it been for you when you think about.
Well, first, well, first, I want to say welcome to the Rich Relationship Refuge live hot night session.
Hey
And as you
everyone.
can tell, we are still. Yeah, y'all see, I got caught up in it, and she just jumped right in. Jumps right in. Just want to get straight to the chase. One thing that we wanted to talk about was this topic, and sometimes you can be in the midst of something and not realize that you're in the midst of something that other people are going through, and that because it's become like
Right.
your normal way of living, and you don't realize that sometimes other people, your camera just went
I
cockeyed.
know. It's
Is that sometimes people realize that when you're going through something, a sickness, an illness, or especially through that episode we all just went through in 2020, that how it can impact your relationships. And this is kind of a topic that, while it may not be the normal or it may be a little unusual of a topic to talk about in a relationship, but it is definitely something that affects relationships. And it can be something very insignificant and small that happens for a season, or it can be something that goes on for the rest of a lifetime.
right.
And that's something that maybe people don't realize. How is it affecting, or how is it impacting your relationship when it's your normal?
Right.
And when it's our normal, we think it's normal.
Yeah.
So, and other people may be impacted by it. And so when we talk about this topic tonight, we're just going to talk about it. We're not medical experts. We
And
are
we're not
not,
giving any medical advice.
right. We're
We are
not
going
in
to
doing any of that.
we're going
You,
to share what we how we have navigated lifestyle diseases and even just overcoming. I think about when you had COVID. You know,
babe, your
I,
camera,
I
they can't see you.
I'm trying to
Oh,
adjust it. The my
okay.
little my little robot is. I don't know if he need power or what his problem is. Let me just plug it up. Maybe that will help. Maybe he needs some juice. Maybe he needs some energy. Let's see. This thing has never done this before, but of course, because I'm trying to. Okay.
Well, when everything goes live, it always goes wonky and crazy. And this is
Okay.
gonna be unedited, so they gonna see the ceiling, gonna see the wall, they gonna see how things really roll. We are real people. While we try to do the best production we can, sometimes the production value is a little odd.
And especially when the person who is better at navigating all this technology is not here.
Right.
You guys get to see who handles all of the lighting and cameras and all that stuff. That is not my area. That is Gil's area of expertise. So I miss you, baby, and thank you.
Well, I miss you too. And as you guys can tell, we are still co-located. I'm here in Texas and Renee's in Alabama still. And next week we'll be back together because that's a whole nother
Yay!
chapter. We're actually going to be in the process of finishing up in Alabama and then migrating back to Texas as the whole crew and clan comes along caravanning, y'all. So we may send some videos and things like
Yeah.
that from the road because it's going to be an episode. I already know based on how this whole trip, how this whole move has went. Y'all, I am just trying to, while we're talking about lifestyle diseases and sicknesses, this is a lifestyle change for
It
me, and for us as a family. But this is something that has been challenging to me to be able to go with flow and change and be able to adjust on the fly,
Yeah,
you
because
know.
guess what, y'all? Initially, Gil was not supposed to be doing this episode with me. Initially, I was supposed to be doing this episode with Laverne. And so when we found out that she had an
She had a life
issue,
it. Yeah,
I was
a whole
like,
personal issue.
babe,
Guess
um,
what? You coming on tonight. And I
guess
was like,
what?
okay.
You're gonna have to be on here with me tonight. Because Laverne had an issue. And so I think a part of what you have to understand is, and we've said it before, he or she who is flexible is not easily broken. And I think that whenever you make a commitment to do something, it's always going to be tested and there's always going to be difficulty and there's always going to be struggle. And so I think to the person who asked the question, how do you deal? Basically, the question was, if I had to say, what I think the real question was is, how do you still feel beautiful? How do you still feel empowered? How do you still feel connected when life happens to you? Because I think that although you may not have had a sickness, you may not have a disease, you may not have had COVID, every single one of us is going to go through something that is going to test and challenge our ability to stay stable, just like this thing is moving around. And
Right.
so, how do we deal with that? What do we do? How do we navigate that? And so, I think it's just important that we understand that one of the big things that's important for us as a couple and even as marriage coaches is to help to take you guys along on a real journey in life and to understand that things aren't going to go as planned and things are going to go haywire. And sometimes your equipment is going to malfunction and sometimes your vehicle is going to go off and sometimes things are going to happen. And so I think it's just important that we want to take you guys along on this journey, and we love you guys and we're so grateful to be able to serve you all and to just know that it is not um happening effortlessly. I tried to charge my phone earlier and it didn't charge. And so now I have it on the base. I'm sitting in the bed. I have it on the tray and I have my phone plugged in. So if you guys ever
So
wondered our ability to be resilient, I think that this is definitely a test.
So one thing that came to mind when you told me that we were going to be doing this episode is I think it's important to realize how does your relationship get impacted by sickness, illness, or things that will derail it from the operating under normal circumstances. And I think just kind of like what you were kind of talking about, one of the first things that came to my mind, and this is something to keep in mind, is how it's going to be an emotional strain.
Yeah.
When I say an emotional strain, I'm saying when you have someone that you're in love with and that you care deeply about, and they're going through something and you cannot do anything about it from the physical standpoint to make it better, that is going to be something that is going to emotionally drain. Because I think about some of the things that you are going through when you feel helpless. You feel
Yeah.
helpless to the point that this person is going through something and you can't do anything about it to make it better. So that was kind of like an emotional strain that it's going to um, put a strain on you mentally, physically, and I would say probably more than I realized was from the emotional side, from an
Yeah.
emotional strain for me.
And I want to talk about what they are. So I have three autoimmune diseases. One of them is
Mhm.
vitiligo, which is the reason why I didn't just color my hair white to be trendy. I colored my hair white because my scalp turned white. And I felt like rather than being upset about it, okay, I'm going to turn lemons into lemonade. So if you guys wonder why, because we get a lot of comments about my hair color, I initially colored my hair white because vitiligo, which is what I have on my hands, is all over my body in different areas. My whole scalp was turning white. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I complement that? And so that's why I turned my hair
Mhm.
white initially. The other one is celiac.
Wait, before you go, before you go ahead. Well, I wanted to make a comment on that one because that's another thing that how it's going to affect your relationship is your change in your physical appearance.
Yeah,
Sometimes you can be going through something that is going to alter how you look from from when you initially got together, how it's going to impact your relationship then. So
yeah,
I can say in this instance, talking about the vitiligo is when the your scalp and all the other, I call it a giraffe because you
yeah. I
look more like a
know.
giraffe. I want to
Yeah,
so not in a bad way. It's cute and it's
that's my
beautiful
favorite
and it's
animal, the
something that
giraffe.
and but that was something that I had to make an adjustment with because it can impact you to where if something happens from the physical side, your natural reaction may be, wait a minute, this is not how you're supposed to look. This is not how it's supposed to change. You're
Yeah, I
supposed to
didn't sign up for
stay
that.
that person. Right, that person, you supposed to stay that good-looking person or that thing that attracted me to you your whole life, but this is something that is beyond your control. So I can say that this is something that changed your physical appearance and that you took and made it an enhancement because of your previous career field as being a hairstylist. You were able to take that and say, you know what, this is how I'm going to make the best out of this situation
Right.
and do something that still is very attractive. You're always very attractive to me.
Thank
And
you.
we always talk about this off camera, even without the hair color and all those things. I always say you're naturally beautiful anyway.
Thank you.
So that is something that you just try to take and make the best out of the situation when it did happen.
Yeah. And I think a
So
part I think a part of it is that when you find your identity in things that can be changed, it's really dangerous. And I can honestly say that I know a lot of people who give it a like go as children and they have to grow up with it. Mine didn't really surface until I was probably like 45, 46 is when it really began to surface. So I had my whole adult life and I had the luxury of knowing who I was and I had the luxury of having a strong sense of my identity. But my heart goes out to people when they're younger when it happens. So I just think it's important that your identity can't be connected to or primarily based on what you look like, what you drive, what you have. Anything that you can lose or that can change is really dangerous that you find your identity in that. And it's important that you have people in your life that are going to extend grace to you because I think a big part
mhm,
of it is grace is so powerful. And one of the things that I'm grateful for you, Gil, is that you always have encouraged me. You've always extended grace to me. And even when other people make comments, you have to learn how to not take it personal and understand that people are going to say things and it may not necessarily be directed at you. It might be their own insecurity, you know? And so the other two, celiac is a digestive issue where you can't digest gluten and flour. And I learned that when I was in my 30s because I was having a lot of, and I was
mhm.
really sick. I was sick for a long time. And I think about the emergency room visits and I think about just all the problems that I had with that. And I think about just, you being able to just pick up the slack for me and making sure that
And that
that would,
go ahead.
so for you, I know for me it was difficult because I was sick, I was physically sick, I was
Right.
in pain, but I'm the kind of person, even sick and in pain, I'm still going to go to work. And how you assured me, hey, if you need to stay home, stay home. If you're feeling sick, stay home. And so, babe, how was it for
Right.
you though?
I would say in how that actually impacted our relationship is the other person is going to have to increase their caregiving responsibilities.
Right.
When you are together and everything is healthy and everything is going good, you didn't know you were going to have to play nurse to your spouse or your significant other, whoever you care about and you're in relationship with. And sometimes it may be to a point to where something that you may have to do as a caregiver is going to put a strain on you to it's going to build up your resilience because you may have to do
Yeah.
things and to care for this person in a capacity that you ain't going to see in a movie, you ain't gonna
No.
see in a book or in
No.
TV and there's romance novels and stuff like that. You're gonna have to do some things sometimes that are not very pretty, But if you really care about this person, you want to lend that level of support to this person that you care about in any capacity that you need to do to be able to care for them and show them that it's more than in sickness and in health and good when things are going good. It's easy to be in a relationship when everything is going great.
Right.
It's when the things like this happen or a sickness happens that you are really challenged and you're tested to see, are you really living up to those vows that you committed to or those promises that you made if you're still in a dating phase or a commitment phase,
Right.
that I'm still going to be there regardless of how you look physically, like we talked about, or how I may have to be a caregiver in a capacity that I may not have signed up for.
Right. And I think it's important. One of the things that I can say I'm grateful for, 'cause I think about so many times when I've had, whenever you have an autoimmune struggle or autoimmune disease, it affects other parts of your body. And I think about, you have been a doctor, you've been, I mean, I think about, I was
Some
getting
of the things that I
Bartholin,
had to do.
I was getting Bartholin cyst, and Gil
Yeah,
would
yeah.
go in and
If you don't know
burst.
what that is, look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
Look it
But
up. We ain't gonna
Gil
get
was the
graphics,
one
but
who would do it for me. So when I say that this man loves me inside and out, and flaws and good and bad, I know that he does. And so I think
because
that's
and now
go ahead,
it,
baby.
it goes both ways because there are things that you've had to do for me and
Yeah,
see me at very vulnerable, very exposed level when it comes to it. I would say it didn't look very manly, but there are things that you had to do for me from a sickness and from a caregiver perspective
yeah.
that if you have a big pride thing going on, it's going to be very challenging for you to be able to suppress that thing to say, I'm gonna do what needs to be done for the person that I love and I care about.
And I'm glad you brought up the P word, because I think at the root of every question that we have about the way we look and what we bring to the table, it still kind of is rooted in pride. Because when you say those vows, in sickness and in health until death do us part, that
Right,
means that I'm going to be with you through it all. I'm going to be with
right.
you when your hair is long into your back, and
Or
when your or when
when I'm
your
going
hair is
bald,
gone, or when you every part of your body is sitting up and perky, or when it's not, or when you have
when
a six
gravity is
pack.
taking over.
Yeah, and so I think it's important that we understand and that we share that our relationship, because everyone's always saying, "Oh, you guys are such a beautiful couple," and "Oh, you got relationship goals." But what we don't show you and what we won't show you is him rupturing a Bartholin cyst, or me taking care of him when he has COVID, or when he has hemorrhoids, or me when we are there for each other. And I think that that's what's important to us, that we share that our relationship has not just been all good. Our relationship
Right,
have not just been everything going our way and things, working out, and it has not always been that way. And so I think that
right,
it's important that we share with you all the highs and the lows, because marriage is a commitment to God and to another person, that you're going to make it work no matter what. And I can honestly say that, when I saw the question, I'm grateful for the question being asked, because that's what we're here for. We don't want to just talk about what's important to us. We want to share with you all the things you guys have questions about, or that you're curious about, or how have you guys been together for so long? We want to share all those things, because I think a lot of it is that we didn't have this. We didn't have
hmm
anybody sharing with us how to navigate, sickness, how to
sickness
navigate
or yeah,
moving, how to navigate money. And so I love, love, love who I serve, who I get to share my life with, and the people that we get to serve. The Rich Relationship Community, you guys are so important to our life, and we thank God for you guys. So if you guys have questions, if there's things you're curious about, things you want to know, don't hesitate to put it in the comments, because just like with this topic, we want to answer the questions that you guys have. We want to be
right,
a solution to your problems. We want to provide answers to your questions. We don't want to just talk about all the negative or just the positive. We want to give you some calls to action and some solutions. And so, one of the things I can say as a woman that I was able to do and that I'm doing daily is that I had to learn how to not allow what other people said about me to be what was important. One of the reasons why we say I am more than enough is because if you can say that to yourself every day, I am more than enough, you have enough stuff, you don't, you know when to say no, you know when to say enough is enough, and you also realize whose you are. So more than enough is not just about the way you look. It's who you belong to, the fact that you don't you're a steward, not an owner, and that you realize that your value is not from another person. You get to share your life. It's not about you feeling like the other person is your source.
And you said that because that's the mindset that you have to take upon after you've been going through some of these things that we talked about, that how it affects your relationship. That is, we even did an episode on what you, and it came to my mind while you were saying that in your comment, is that growth mindset that you have to
Yes,
have when you are going through struggles, or you going through problems or situations or circumstances that are beyond your control. You have to have a growth mindset, not just for positive affirmations and things like that that you need to get through those things, but stuff that you have to tell yourself. You got to do some positive self-talk,
yeah,
especially when you're not feeling well, especially when things are, gravity is taking over, or especially when your significant other is going through some struggles and you can't do anything about it. You have to be that voice of positivity, you have to be that voice of growth, you have to be that voice of encouragement. So those are the things that came to mind, that we did an
yeah,
episode on, that you can go through, that is definitely applicable to this scenario, as well as when you're going through other things. But we're talking about it from the perspective of, how do you handle sickness in your relationship, and
right,
how do you overcome the things that we always try to do is tell you the beginning of things that you may be going through right now, which is kind of like what we talked about already, like your
right,
appearance changing, some of your emotional needs that need to be met, some of the responsibilities that you have to take over from a caregiver perspective. And then the last two we're going to talk about from the relationship, how it can actually affect your relationship, is probably the two that usually is the biggest cause of why relationships break up.
right. And I
One is
want to
going to
say,
be, and
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
And I'm see
Oh,
if you, I know you probably know them.
oh
And
no,
y'all, we don't talk about this before we come together.
no, I want what I want to talk about. I want to talk about how, yeah, there have been some negative, but I think one of the biggest benefits to our lifestyle diseases, my lifestyle diseases, is us going plant based and us
Hmm.
realizing that prayer, fasting, and a plant-based lifestyle was the answer. And I didn't do it for, I did it for my health. And just how you have helped me, how you have supported me, how we both benefit from it. So I think sometimes when negative things happen, there's always something positive can come out of it. And it like this was going into our 8th year of us being plant-based and us changing not only our physical, but also spiritually, emotionally, how something that was supposed to be negative has been so good for us, and how you have been so supportive and how you've made the change as well. So I think that sometimes we don't realize that in every negative situation, God is going to work something. He says all things work together for good for those who love God and called according to your purpose. And so I just want to kind of bring that up, that sometimes the things you go through physically and with sickness and with diseases, you're going to have to make some changes. And
Hmm.
I think a part of it, what this has taught us, is that you have to be resilient. You have to be willing to change. And, we need each other. And I'm grateful for your
And
support.
you said that, I'm thankful that you took us on this journey, because when you talk about the plant-based thing, what we're talking about is lifestyle diseases.
Jesus.
And when you
Right,
think of a lifestyle disease, if you look it up, lifestyle diseases are things that you have control over,
right,
things that you can actually change in your life, that is impacting you from a sickness standpoint.
right.
If you have hypertension, if you have diabetes, if you, and like, again, we're not going into the medical side of things. We're
No,
just talking about
we're not
lifestyle
diagnosing
diseases.
you. We're not
Nope,
telling you how to
nope.
treat your disease
Yep.
without medicine.
This is the disclaimer. Go talk to your doctor about all those
Right,
things, and ask them, what are the lifestyle diseases, because lifestyle diseases are things that you can definitely
right,
control, that is within your realm of responsibilities that you can do, that kind of led to your point of talking about going plant-based, because as you get older, you're going to have to make some changes. I can't eat like I was 18 and 19 and 20 years old when I'm
You
55 or
can, but it'll kill
56.
you.
Yeah, really, really quick. So you're going to have to make some changes and shift in your lifestyle if you want to stick around a lot longer. You don't have to make any changes if you don't want to.
No, you don't,
But
because
I always
it'll
said
take you out of here.
when people ask me about why did I make a change to go plant based, I said I like the way I feel better than I like the way it tasted.
That's true.
So whatever I was eating that may have tasted good and may have satiated me to the point to where I just had that almost physical reaction to something that tastes good,
Right.
it wasn't worth the
No.
impact that it was having on my overall health as a aging older black man, to where I know I
Right.
have to make some changes or I'm going to be a statistic really, really quick.
Yeah. And so I think a part of it is understanding that you have to be willing to make, I always say, in order to get permanent results, you got to make permanent changes. If you only make temporary changes, you only get temporary results. And so I think a
Right.
part of it is that, yeah, you're going to change. Beauty fades. You are not going to look the way you looked
Hmm.
when you were 20. You're not going to feel the way you felt when you're 20. But that doesn't mean it has to be bad. And if me changing the way I look changes how you feel about me, then how you felt about me was only superficial, and it wasn't genuine, and it wasn't based on something that was going to last. Because I think, unfortunately, we live in a society and a time where everything is so temporary, and we are so worried about in the instant. We're not thinking about longevity. And so, babe, what were the other things you were gonna say?
And you kind of are leading into that, where how it kind of leads into intimacy. But I'll give you the first one, which is how it's going to actually change your sexual mood.
Hmm.
That's something that can be, if you're having a lifestyle disease or a choice or something that is impacting your life from a physical standpoint, sickness, health, injuries, or anything like that, it's
Distance.
going to definitely, yeah, it's going to definitely impact your sexual functioning, to the point to where you may not be able to, like we're in the situation that we're not able to be physically together, but we also can still maintain a level of intimacy that far surpasses the physical, tangible touching that we actually can do. That intimacy is not built upon that. It's built upon what we're doing right now, and that we're actually sharing with the rest of the community. That it's communication, it's talking, it's
It
basically
is.
being vulnerable, it's sharing information with each other about each other, that is going to draw you closer together. So from the effects that it can have, that's the point that I want to bring up, was it can affect you from a sexual functioning standpoint, because it's going to build your stress level. You
Yeah.
can't perform and you can't interact with each other if you're stressed out, or if you have all this tension because of a physical ailment that is preventing you from doing the things that you have done in the past or that you enjoy doing. So that's something that I wanted to bring up, how it could be affecting your relationship, is from the sexual functioning.
Yes. And I think that, unfortunately, we make everything about sex, and we forget about intimacy. And
Hmm.
intimacy, like you just said, it surpasses. Intimacy leads to sex, but you can have intimacy without sex. And so I
Yes.
think it's important that you understand that whenever you go through anything that's going to change you or challenge you, you have to really, everything you believe, everything that you say is going to be tested. And so there are going to be things you're going to go through that's going to test that. And so when it's tested, what happens? We talk about when you get bumped, what comes out of you. So
Hmm.
because I think about when we were pregnant with Aaron. I mean, when you get pregnant, guess what? I mean, you can still have sex, but not up until the end. And so if you make everything about anything that can change or anything that can be lost, you have to make your decision about your marriage, your relationship, on love and joy and goodness and faithfulness and kindness, all of those things, because those won't pass away. But a lot of the things that we build our relationships on are not sustainable. And
Right.
so while beauty fades and sex drives, wane, and distance, all those things are a part of life, but you just have to remember that love is a choice, it's a commitment, and it is forever.
Hmm.
And it's not just based on the way you look. And so when again, that question, how do you still feel beautiful when you're dealing with sickness? How do you deal with sickness in a marriage? How do you deal with disease in a marriage? You have to first, I mean, the most important part is you got to pray. You got to
Yes.
believe that God, God won't put more on you than you can handle. And I really believe that he gives his most difficult battles to his strongest soldiers. And so when God has entrusted something into your care, and are you why would you say that about diseases or sickness? Because I believe that, I remember when I was talking to Shirley Cavalier, and she was saying, I just feel like God trusted me with that. You know, trusted you with a disease. It's like, well, God knows who can handle what. And so when God allows you to go through something, it's not just for you. It's not just, it's for all the people in your life. And so, but it's going to make you stronger. It's going to make you closer. And if distance or sickness, if anything can destroy your relationship, it really wasn't as solid as you think it was. And so
Hmm.
I'm grateful for the opportunities that God has entrusted us with, things that have tested us and shown us how strong we are and how genuine our love for each other is.
Right. And so the last one that I wanted to bring up is that could be affecting your relationship is the financial strain.
Yeah.
If you're sick and things that you're going through, it can bring strain financially that is going to spill over into your relationship that causes stress. Most people know in relationships, money is probably one of the number one or two topics that causes people to go their separate ways because of a financial issue, whether
Right.
it's lack thereof or sometimes even too much of, can
Right.
have the same kind of effect. Most people don't think about it, but when you have an increase in expenses because of a sickness or an injury or an illness or a lifestyle that you have to adhere to. And I'm not talking about a lifestyle from a luxurious standpoint. I'm
Right.
talking because you have to maintain a whole lot of medication to keep you functioning. That cost, and that's going to pull away from some of the other things that you could be using those resources for to feed into your relationship, from whether it's taking a nice vacation or spending time together, maybe giving each other gifts that you could be doing. Um,
Right.
those are things that are going to impact it, that you may not think about it in that context, but it can have an impact in your relationship that is affecting it right now.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things I want us to really do an episode on, marriage and money, because I
Hmm.
think that's one of the things we haven't touched on. And I want to kind of show how we have learned to navigate and changes and the military and two incomes and one incomes, because I think it's important that we show that. So we have the opportunity to share that. I do want to share that because I think that's important that we share that part of our life as well, just like we're sharing all the other things we're going through, that we share. How do we navigate when you have a big life and a small budget? How do you navigate when as the different stages? Because you kind of mentioned it, when you're young, you wear it. When you're older, you drive it. A little bit older, you live in it. And then when you get older, you want to be able to um, save it,
Invest it
invest it,
and
and
save it.
enjoy it. Right,
Right, right.
right. So that's
So
a
yeah, that would be a good ideal to do an episode about that in the future. That's on video too.
what?
Oh, this is live that you just threw some pencil at somebody.
Yeah, I threw a pencil. He
Yeah,
lied.
this
He told me go
this is
out of
this is
here.
this is this is real life. So that impacts his stuff. So,
Yes, that wasn't a pencil. That was my toothbrush. Because
oh, okay.
I asked
Th-
him to stay out while I was
Yeah,
recording,
right, right.
but
Well,
that
that's
doesn't.
neither here nor there.
Yes,
So,
yes, yes,
but
yes.
we just wanted to come on because we know as things are getting restless on your end, we wanted to come on and still be committed to recording these episodes and
But we got to
talking to you
get we got to
people.
get some positive calls to action.
Well, we already gave a couple of them when we talked about having the growth mindset.
Yes.
We talked about that, about how you can actually have that positive mindset when it comes to things that you're going through, and how it's going to be feeding into your relationship to be a positive aspect. What is something that
One
you have?
one of the big ones that I really want to share is, don't let pride keep you from telling people you're struggling. You need to tell your spouse. You need to tell your family, because you need the support of your spouse. Don't keep secrets from your spouse. You need the support of your family and people who can pray for you. You need the support of a community of other people who may be struggling with the same thing you're struggling with. Because if you have community people around you, when you feel at your lowest, you have people you can talk to. I think one of the biggest things that we don't do is we keep secrets in our community. We don't want people to know we're going through things. And that's a big thing. You got to be willing to reach out. You got to be willing to get support. You got to be willing to stay active. Find a way to be physically active, because a lot of the feelings we have of depression and anxiety are just a result of us being sedentary and being stuck in isolation. So it's
Hmm.
important that those are some of the ways you can really help yourself to feel better about what you're going through, by you taking care of yourself, by you letting other people be a part of what you're going through, because it's easy to just stay in isolation and not share with other people. And those are the ways that the enemy is going to really pull you into a deeper hole. And I'm proud of the person who made the comment and asked that question, because that took a lot of courage and that took a
Hmm.
lot of humility. And so if there's something you're struggling with, put it in the comments. We are going to show some other videos up here, or it may be down here, or wherever it's going to be on the screen. But we're going to give you some playlists, because we have just hit 451 videos. So we have all those episodes. We're going to put the link either up here or maybe down here, but it's going to be somewhere for you to watch other episodes. We're constantly creating content that's going to help you in your relationships with you, yourself, with God, food, and money. And that's what we're really here to do. We just are so grateful we get to serve you guys.
And you said some of the calls to action that you just kind of talked about, you actually kind of cover some new habits that you can establish with it. You talked about it from communicating. That
Yeah,
is the bedrock and the foundation of every
of
relationship
everything.
that you're going to have. But you also got to be willing to communicate and be honest, open, and transparent, to be hot with the people that are the closest to you, to tell them when you're going through things and to
Right.
share with them some of the areas of your life that you may need help with, because everybody needs help at some point in time in their life. And if you have that pride and you don't want to let people know that you need help, that is something that is going to, I think, have a bigger impact than maybe even the illness or the sickness or the thing that you're struggling with. That's a whole nother dynamic that you just added on top of what you're going through. That's going to either, I think it's going to even expound it to the point to where it's going to be
Oh,
even
yeah.
worse off than you are just by not sharing it.
Right.
Nothing bad is going to come from it when you are telling people you need help.
Right. And I think that's one of the things is ask for help, reach out, let people know what's going on with you. Because one of the biggest tricks of the enemy is to make you think you're the only person going through what you're going through, and
Hmm.
to make you feel like no one would understand. People would
Right,
love to help and serve you, but they got to know what's going on with you. I
right.
think about, for me with Gil, is telling him when I'm having good days, when I'm having bad days, how are you feeling? He didn't know I was in pain every day because I never said anything. And so people who care about you, who are around you, they need to know what's going on with you. So please pray, fast, eat better, communicate, but make sure you're reaching out for help, because we all
Hmm.
need help. Nobody has life all figured out.
Yeah. So I think we gave enough. I mean, we've been on here like 40 minutes almost. So we wanted to just come on and share with you guys from two different areas, from Texas and Alabama, that we
From a
still
male's
are,
perspective, from a female's perspective, as well as from a biblical perspective.
from how it can actually impact it. And that last point that you made, First Thessalonians came to mind, which talks about praying continuously. You can never go wrong by reaching out to the Lord with what you're
Right.
going through, even if you feel like you have no one else to talk to that can empathize and sympathize and understand and listen, and you can always reach out to our God and our Father, all the time,
Yeah.
anytime, do it what you're going through, and you will be surprised how He will send you the answer that you need to hear, that will communicate to your heart and your mind about what you're going through, and that you're not alone.
Yeah.
So
And
we
you
hope you guys
always
took
can
one
reach out to us at Rich Relationship Refuge at gmail.com. Or you can go to our website at Rich Relationship Refuge at Rich Relationship Refuge. Or again, leave your questions and comments in the feed. If you have questions or comments, or if you're a new subscriber, we have gotten lots of new subscribers. Thank you. We love you guys. We are so grateful to be able to serve you. If you're watching this later, put it in the feed, your questions, your comments, and where you're watching this from. We'd love to be a part of your relationship journey.
So we love you guys. I love you, babe.
I love
We'll
you
be
and
back
I
together
miss
next week.
you.
And
I'm
we
so
will see
excited.
you guys. Yeah, we will see you guys next week. We'll be
Yep.
back together though.
Yes, we
So that's
will.
gonna
We
be a
won't be
positive.
in two screens. We'll be in one place. So we love
All
you
right.
guys. Thanks for watching and sharing. Thanks for commenting, subscribing, and click the link and you can watch more videos from us. We don't just make shorts, we make long content too.
Love you, babe. I'll see you
Love you
guys
too.
later.
Love you guys. Bye. Thank you.